Bitcoin is down 16.8% in November so far. Historically, December averages 4.75% gain. Will December end up being bullish? Let me know in the comments down below. But welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel, to the XRP holders. Thank you so much for all the love that you guys show on a regular day-to-day basis. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and your bell icon is on so you're notified every time we upload. But looking at the overall market on the 24-hour time frame, once again, a great day, as you can see for yourself. A little bit of retracement for some altcoins, but again, zoom out to take a look at it on a weekly time frame. This gives us a better understanding as to what's happening. Pretty much since Saturday, we've been in this upwards trajectory, and you can really see what type of impact this has had on the altcoin market. XRP, on the other hand, up 16%, but again, on a monthly time frame, is still down quite substantially for the broader market. As far as XRP is concerned, down about 16% right now, but holding better than BTC. The price of XRP, $2.23 as of recording this update, up about 1.6% on the USD side of things and the Bitcoin side of things as well. The valuation approaching $135 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume at $3 billion. As always, just a quick disclaimer, anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So look what President Trump said. He says the US may completely end up getting rid of income tax due to tariff revenue. Pretty much since the start of the year, since he became a president, there were a lot of rumors flying around if he's going to get rid of capital gains tax. Obviously, this does not mean that, but this means income tax. But that would still be quite a big thing, and he's publicly pretty much stated that if this were to happen, obviously this would have, in my opinion, a positive impact on the markets. Because the reason why I think that is because more people will have money to spend for other things. Maybe now they're gonna start looking into investments, so on and so forth. But again, big statement. Let me know your personal thoughts on that, of course, in the comments. But take a look at this, fear and greed index. As you can see across the board, as I highlighted to you guys on the weekly time frame, you're seeing a lot of green across the board. But yet, if you look at the fear and greed index, we're still in extreme fear zone. You can see, the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index is at 22, showing extreme fear, slightly higher than, of course, yesterday's level, which was, of course, at 15. So that should just tell you how much the market has retraced over the course of the last 1 month. The fact that you're seeing the market rebounding, yet you're still on the extreme fear zone, and that should tell you where the market sentiment still really is. So, again, this is something I want you guys to, pay very close attention to. But look what Quentin says. Previous cycles ended with quantitative tightening and rate hikes. This time, quantitative tightening is ending and the interest rates are cut. And this is something I've talked to you guys about on the market analysis updates. Of course, you guys know this is a segment that I have going on the channel where we talk about the broader market every day. I sat with you guys, I think it was update not too long ago, and I talked about quantitative easing starting and what that could mean for the markets. And, when you understand it, that means more liquidity or is going to flow, maybe, from to retail, even institutions. Could that come into the equity market and crypto? Historically speaking, when quantitative easing was happening, that's where you did see those historic, bull market for altcoins, so on and so forth. As far as altcoin is even concerned, like altcoin, season, if you want to put it that way, the closest that we have seen to that was late last year, early this year. Other than that, we haven't really seen what we saw back in 2021. But again, I continuously remind you guys, 2021, there were very low amount of coins compared to what they are now. So those are things that we kind of want to keep in mind. But again, is liquidity going to flow into crypto markets? Is retail interest going to spike once again? Because again, retail interest is pretty much at rock bottom for the year of 2025, in my opinion. We have not seen a lack of retail interest, to the levels that we're currently at. But if you look at it on the equity market side of things, you're seeing a complete opposite switch. You're actually seeing retail interest carrying the momentum recently, and I covered that in my XRP update last as well. So very interesting things going on, but we'll see. But I think 2026, especially with the way the crypto market has reacted during a historic price point where you tend to see quarter four be a bullish time in, a bull market. We did see slow price action, of course. So that's just making people wonder whether or not this 4-year cycle is done. And Bitcoin has seen quite a sharp pullback. The leading indicator of the market has, completed the wave, in my opinion. So is this really the next start to the wave where we do see Bitcoin retesting new all-time highs in the broader market? Following that, we'll see what happens as we do go further, obviously, into the end of the year. Obviously, we're approaching the end of November. Crazy to wrap my head around the fact that we're already done the month of November. December, hopefully, we bring some sort of excitement because let's face it, it's been quite some time since we've seen any sort of bullish momentum for the space. So it would be a good start, to a bullish momentum. Maybe that could be the start to the next wave. We'll see what happens. But again, let me know in the comments what you guys think. But 21 shares ETF is set to launch today. So another spot ETF coming on board. Very exciting as always. As you can see for yourself, things we used to dream of just not too long ago is finally starting to happen. The ETFs conversations that used to take place for quite some time, those things are happening. And a lot of people, in my honest opinion, are overlooking the ETF demand factor. I think as time goes by, that's where people will realize. But again, another ETF going live supposedly today. But take a look at this. Dr. Whale has released a new short-term price target for major assets, including XRP. And I kind of wanted to go over this. I came across this article, and I'm going to share my personal thoughts, whether or not I agree with this analyst or not. So you can see his projection adds to a growing list of experts' outlooks shaping expectations for the remainder of the cycle. Specifically, the forecast suggests that the next 4 months could be promising for altcoins after several weeks of bearish performance. XRP is currently at $2.20, trading in a tight range after a volatile November. Despite the recent slowdown, Dr. Whale maintains that the asset could still see a meaningful upside before the first quarter of next year concludes. So, according to him, he's pretty much targeting $4 over the next 4 months. This target suggests XRP could reclaim the $3 psychological level and progress into the uncharted territory at $4 in the upcoming weeks. I'm going to put that into perspective a little later in this update. So if you're looking at the dominance, obviously dominance topped out at 59.37%, a level we've obviously retested over the last few days. Once again, retested it. We've seen a little bit of a rejection at that key range. Hopefully, dominance continues to pull down. That would be a good sign for altcoins. Bitcoin, on the other hand, pretty much, let's give it a refresh live, literally on the verge of breaking out here. What I mean by that is, let me show you guys Bitcoin on an hourly perspective. You can see for yourself, we did see a little bit of a minor pullback just not too long ago, down to 90,700. We've seen an uptick, and you can see, we got stopped out at $91,800. Once again, if this is able to break out, we do go back into the point 50, in my opinion. So Bitcoin is looking great, consolidating quite nicely. But you want to kind of see the dominance start to show more weakness. I think that would be a good sign for altcoins. XRP, again, look at it for yourself, $2.22, as you could see for yourself. And we are also, kind of replicating what Bitcoin is doing, but outpacing BTC, in my opinion. We came up to $2.25 resistance. And, like I said, if Bitcoin is able to break into the point 50, I anticipate, we break out of our target that where we were just on November 24th at $2.28. So XRP looking really good, but going back to the $4 key range. So what I want you guys to kind of keep in mind is, if indeed this is, the market reversal, as you guys know, I've said this 100 times on the channel at this point, pretty much since the price of Bitcoin was able to get back into the 78.6, the cycle, this wave is completed. And in my opinion, market, if it were to turn around, I'd be more confident. But again, we could still end up seeing a few, retracements here and there. But again, nonetheless, the trajectory would be for us to, again, if this wave were to continue, we would see Bitcoin, breaking out of all-time highs and start retesting, in my overall projection, around 140,000 to 150K key range, somewhere around there for this wave. Again, keeping this wave into consideration. So with that said, XRP, has been following BTC, right? So you would expect XRP to, have a positive reaction to this Bitcoin trajectory. And right now, what's really bullish, in my opinion, what a lot of people are not realizing is the fact that XRP is holding better than BTC. So again, with these ETF flows coming in, major institutional demand coming in, and once you tend to see the market sentiment start to, shift back into the bullish trajectory, you could tend to see, these all-time highs being retested much quicker than a lot of people realize, because that itself is a move of about 63.8%. After that, obviously, we could break into all-time highs, and that's where the $4 price point comes into play. But if Bitcoin is able to get into this key range and we continue the performance and the inflows that we're seeing, with XRP, with the way things are going in just a short span of time, that is not an unrealistic target to be looking forward to, in the not in the short term, short to mid term, a projection. So again, best way to look at it is zoom out. Take a look at what we've seen in this broader market. We've seen one of the biggest market retracements, over the last, few days. Obviously, on November 21st, you saw about $2 billion in liquidation. And of course, the largest liquidation on October 10th, but yet the price of XRP still maintaining its price within the 0.50 fib zone. You're actually seeing ETFs finally live now, demand for them exceeding a lot of people's expectations. Those are things, people overlook, especially during times like this. But once the prices are within the 23.6 or getting close to all-time highs, that's where you tend to see more bullish comments rather than bearish comments, and that happens time and time out. It's just part of the way this market tends to move. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Thank you so much for all the love that you guys show on a regular day-to-day basis, and we'll see you later in crypto, ZX, and peace.